What's up, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got tutorials for 3 different types of crochet accessories for you guys. Let's get started. Okay, so to get started with this tote bag, I'm going to use a number 4 worsted weight yarn and a 5mm hook. For this bag, we're going to be using single and double crochets, but for the base of the bag, we'll just be doing singles. So to start, I'm just going to chain 50. I'll chain 1 more for my turning chain, and then single crochet down the row. Then I'll chain 1 and turn again, and repeat until I have a total of 56 rows. Obviously, if you want your bag to be longer, you can do that, but this was the dimensions that I liked. Okay, so now that we've got both of our sides, the next step is going to be to slip stitch 3 of the sides together. Normally, I would recommend using the same color that you use for the bag, and I'll show you why in a second, but this was actually the last of my yarn, so I'm going to go ahead and use my second color to slip stitch it together. So when we start the ruffle, we're going to use this side. We're not going to turn it inside out. So the reason I suggest using the same color for the slip stitch, if you can, is because you're going to be able to see the other color right here. It honestly, like, it doesn't bother me that much. It's going to match, so it won't be too bad, but just if you want this to look a little cleaner, using the same color is good. So I'm just going to do this all the way around 3 sides, and then we'll start the ruffle. Okay, so now that I've got my slip stitches all the way around, it is time to start the ruffle. So I'm gonna just leave my hook where it is, where I ended the slip stitch, chain 3, turn, and for the ruffle is going to be a total of 3 rows. For this first row, we're going to do 2 double crochets in each stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do a double crochet in the same stitch that I did my chain. Then move on to the next stitch, and I'm just working in the tops of the slip stitches I just made. I'm going to do 2 in each. If it's easier for you, you can cut the yarn off and start it on this side so that it's easier to see the loops you're working in, but I just like to have fewer ends to weave in, so I just work it with it this way. So I'm just doing 2 double crochets in each all the way around. When I get to the corners, I do 3 double crochets in the corner chain just to like help it not curl up as I go around. Okay, now we're done with increasing stitches. So once we've reached the end of round 1 of the ruffle, I'm going to chain 3, make a really loud noise, turn. This chain counts as my first stitch, and I'm just going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Alright, so now for the final row, I'm going to chain 2, turn, this counts as my first stitch, and I'm going to do a half double crochet in each stitch. Okay, and now we've got the ruffle. I really like this, this is the amount of ruffle that I'm happy with, but I think what's fun about this is you can kind of do whatever you want with it. Like you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. I actually finished this one up earlier today where I did 2 layers of ruffles, and I think that turned out really cute. The bow needs a little help. But yeah, so you can really customize the ruffles however you want. And now it's time to move on to the straps. So for the straps, we're going to do the same thing with both sides. I'm going to attach my slip knot 4 stitches away from the edge. Then I'm going to chain 90. Then we're going to attach, same thing on the other side, 4 stitches from the edge. Slip stitch to join. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch, turn the bag over, make sure your chain isn't twisted, the back should be facing up now, and I'm just going to do a row of single crochets, maybe, into each chain. Okay, so once I reach the end of the row, I'm going to slip stitch to join in the next available stitch, slip stitch again, flip, and then do another row of single crochets. And I'm just going to repeat this until I have a total of 3 rows. Alright, I finished my last row. Now these ends are kind of a mess, but I'm going to slip stitch into the last stitch to join. Tie it off. Repeat with the other side, and then we'll be ready to do the bow. Alright, I've got both my straps. Now, last but not least, comes the bow. Now you can make the bow as long or short as you like. The shortest I can go and still be able to tie it into a bow is 70 chains. I am going to do 90 for this. So I'm going to start by chaining the first half. So I'm going to chain 45. I actually decided to go a little bit bigger with this one, so I'm going to do a total of 100, so I chained 50. Now we're actually going to attach the bow as we go so that we don't have to sew it on later. So I'm going to do about 3 to 4, you can see like the little seams for each row, so eat like 3 to 4 seams down, and I need to count halfway in, so I need to count in 25 stitches. Then I'm just going to slip stitch around. Then chain my other 50. Now I'm going to chain 1, turn, and just like we did for the straps, do single crochets. Okay, I'm trying to make sure you can actually see. It does help me to physically flip my work when I'm turning like for different rows. So I've got one chain left. This is where we slip stitch to join. So I'll do my single crochet, then just slip stitch to join to the next row, and then continue doing my single crochets. So I'll repeat this for 2 more rows until the bow is 3 rows wide. Obviously you can go wider if you want, you'll just need to start down further. So I'll meet you back at the end, we'll tie it in a bow, and then we'll be finished. Alright, it's all finished. Yeah, I think I really like this bow. I do think it would be cuter to do on this size of bag, to do an even larger bow, just like a big sort of obnoxious one. I think that would be really fun. So this is the large size bag. If I have also been doing medium and small. If you are interested in the written pattern for this or for either of those sizes, I think by the time this comes out, hopefully, I will actually have a pattern of this for sale. If not, it will be out soon, so be on the lookout for that. But I am gonna sort of dive into selling patterns, so if you want to make this in different sizes or just view the written pattern, it will be available soon. Alright, so for our next crochet accessory, I've got a really easy and fun one. I'm going to show you how to make this crochet choker. I'm going to show you how to do it all crochet, but just to test it out, I did one with ribbon instead, and I think that looks really pretty as well. So for this, you can use any kind of yarn you want. You'll have to make adjustments if you're doing a thicker yarn. I would say, just so that it's not too bulky on your neck, do like a 1 or a 2 weight yarn. Both of these are actually 1, but this one is a little bit thicker. For the pink, I was able to use a 3.75 millimeter hook, but for the gray, I'm actually using a 2.5 hook. So I'm gonna give you instructions to do the really thin gray weighted one, and then I'll kind of show you the difference between them. So to start off, I've had this yarn for a really long time and I do not remember where it's from or what kind it is, so I can't tell you that, unfortunately. So to start off, I am going to chain 50 Okay, so this is going to be like where I tie this in the back of my neck. So you will have to do some kind of like holding it up to your neck to see. If your neck is a little bit wider, then you might need to make this longer. If you want to use a ribbon, you can just skip this part and start with the part I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to pinch here just to remember where I was. I'm going to chain 4. Then I'm going to do 4 double crochets into the same chain at the base of that chain 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, and that's how we make the little baubles. I'm gonna repeat that. Chain 4, and then for me it seems to work the best to put my crochet hook through these 2 loops here. 1 double crochet, 2, 3, and 4. And you're just going to continue that until it's as wide as you would like, but making sure you're doing an odd number. I am going to do 11. That's what I did for this one. For the slightly thicker yarn, I did 9. And you want it to be able to go about halfway around your neck. Okay, so now I've got, it's very curly, we'll fix that later. I've got my 11 little loops. So now we're going to do the chains. I did the pink one a little bit differently, so you can kind of just do it however you want. But for mine, I'm going to chain 10. Then I'm going to skip 1, 2, and slip stitch into the tip of this little bobble, scallop, I don't know what to call them. Then I'm going to chain 15. Whoops. This yarn is very delicate and slippery. I haven't worked with anything this thin in a long time. 7. Then I'm going to skip 1 and slip stitch into the next. Then I'm going to chain 10 again. Skip 1 scallop. Slip stitch, chain 15. Skip 1, slip stitch, then do 10, skip 2 essentially. Slip stitch kind of in this top joining chain just below where our tie chain is. Okay, so now we have this kind of curly mess. So the way that we're going to get back over to this side to do the final chain and to kind of help this lay a little nicer is I'm just going to, right from where we are, do a row of single crochets along the top. And some of these, let me zoom in further so I can show you what I mean. Okay, we're really, really close now. And some of these really long stitches where we put multiple double crochets, I am doing 2 single crochets into those to help keep it straight, because if I just did 1 single crochet per chain along the top, the whole thing would scrunch up. So you can kind of use your best judgment, and once you've figured out which chains you want to put the single crochets in, it's easy to get into a rhythm. But that's what I ended up doing, is kind of 2 single crochets in the long chains and then 1 in each chain in between. Alright, now that I've got my row of single crochets around the top, I just chain 50 more and then it's finished. And there we go. I don't have one on me, but I think these would be really pretty if I had some sort of like little charm to hang here, or like a couple to hang here, so I might have to look for something like that. But it's really comfortable and soft. Yeah, I think like this is really fun. It's very different for me. I've never tried to crochet jewelry before, and I think you could do this in like any colors. I think a black one would be really cool as well. You could do any kind of colorful ribbon, like I said, add some charms to it or something. These, I think I made 3 of these in like just over an hour, so they work up really fast. Okay, so for our last accessory, I am going to be making a harness out of, I know it's a little hard to see in the light, but this is kind of, the color is ox blood, but it's this like deep red color. So as you can see, this yarn's pretty thin. Obviously you can use whatever yarn you like. This is just some that I had left over from a different project, so this is what I'm going to be using. I believe this is a 3 weight, and I'll be using a 3.75mm hook. So we're going to start with the base, like the belt part of the harness, that is going to wrap around and make like a V shape in the front. So to start, I'm going to chain 4. One of these is going to be my turning chain, so I will work a single crochet into the second stitch from the hook and work 2 more single crochets down the row. I will chain 1 and turn again. Do my 3 single crochets. Then I'm going to increase by doing 1 more single crochet in the last stitch. And I'm going to keep increasing on the same side. So I'm going to chain 1, turn, 2 single crochets in that first stitch, then 1 in each remaining stitch, So you can see we're starting to get this slanting upwards a little bit. So the piece is going to shape, this side is going to stay straight and it's going to V up like this. So I'm going to continue only increasing on the slanted side until this belt part is as wide as I want it to be. Okay, so I realized I keep calling this like a harness in my head, but this is going to be more like an underbust corset, which you'll see the photos before you see this, but I want to keep that straight. So this is going to be like the front where we tie it, and then this is as high as I want to go to sit under my bust. So it really just depends on like how long you want it to be. Like I want this to sit like right above the waistband of pants or a skirt, or like sit right at the waist of a dress. So I ended up doing 25 rows across, and I ended with 27 stitches in length. So now I'm going to continue just like before, only I'm going to stop increasing and just keep doing 27 stitches until this is long enough to wrap around my back. Okay, so it's a few hours later. This is very curly at the moment, but I went ahead and did the band. I don't know what happened here. The yarn got like really dark and then really light for a stripe and then went back to normal, but it's fine. So I ended up doing from where I stopped increasing 105 rows. And now I'm gonna do the same thing, but decrease one each row so that when I'm finished, they'll look the same on both sides. Okay, so once I've got this finished, I have not tied off the end yet. I am going to, if it's easier for you, you can, the next step is just going to be to do a row of single crochets all the way around. So you can do that and then do the straps and the ties separately, but I'm going to kind of do that all in one. So I went ahead and put some stitch markers where I want the straps to be in the back. I'm going to do this tie last, so I'm going to start by just chaining one, and then I'm going to go across the bottom first, and then I'll show you like how many stitches I do for the tie and that kind of stuff when I get there. Okay, so I've gone all along the bottom, and now I'm at what's going to be the front. So you can honestly do whatever you want as far as like making a little tie and the straps. I'm just gonna do something easy but also a little different than what I would normally do. So this wraps around with about this much space for me, so I don't really need these ties to be very long. So I am going to chain however many I think, and then I'll let you know what I decide. Okay, so I ended up chaining 30. So I'm actually going to do basically like a double tie. That probably doesn't make sense, but it will in a second. So I'm going to chain one more and then just slip stitch all the way down the row. Okay, so I've slip stitched my way back down. I'm gonna slip stitch into, sorry, this tail is kind of in the way. Slip stitch into the next chain to join it. Then I'm going to do a single crochet. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the next one and chain 30 again. Okay, we're back. I redid the first tie. These now have 40 stitches and they're definitely cleaner looking. So same thing I did before. I'm just going to slip stitch to join. Then I will continue single crocheting until I reach the peak of the increases, and then that's where I will do my strap. Okay, so I've chained my strap. I just had to sort of like make the chain, and then I hooked it to the slip stitch and tried it on to see what length worked for me to go over my shoulder. I ended up doing 105. So I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm just going to slip stitch, back down the chain, slip to join, do 1 or 2 single crochets in between, and do it again. We're not going to join to the back quite yet. We're going to do that when we get there. Okay, so I've got my 2 straps here. So now I'm just going to continue single crocheting until I get to the stitch right before my stitch marker. Okay, so now I need to make sure that my straps are straight. And I'm going to slip stitch my strap to the back of the belt while I'm doing a single crochet, and I'll get rid of my stitch marker. So all I did for that was just put, oops, I actually put it through the wrong loop first, so we can do that again. Put it through the first loop of my strap. This yarn is really dark and I'm realizing it's kind of hard to see. And then just doing a single crochet like normal. Put my hook through the second loop of the strap, go into the next loop of the back of the belt, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and then finish the second single crochet, and now this strap is attached. I'll do a couple more single crochets and then do the same thing. Make sure my strap isn't crooked. And now I've got my straps for this side. So I will just continue to single crochet across, then do the same thing here, only instead of attaching to the back, I'm doing the first part of it on the back, and then I'll attach it to the front, and just continue to single crochet around, do the straps the same to lace on the other side, and then it will be finished. Alright, so those are my tutorials for 3 different crochet accessories. I really hope you enjoyed them. If you make any of these or your own versions of them, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see it. If you liked this video and you want to see more from me, you can check out my other crochet content and tutorials in my crochet playlist. I also have other types of videos as well. If you feel like sticking around, feel free to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you next time.